Fun with Failure. Hi, this is Dallas with Fun with Failure. This is episode number 16. We've got 4 funny, embarrassing stories for you this evening, and I hope you enjoy. So let's get started. I was staying at a casino in Biloxi, Mississippi for a work conference. At these conferences, most people do more drinking and gambling than actually working. This particular evening, I was planning on doing both. I had an hour or so to kill before dinner, so I went to the ATM and pulled out my maximum daily amount. After losing just $100, I put the rest of the money on a money clip on my wallet and walked to meet a client at Mary Mahoney's for dinner. He brought along some coworkers of his, and after dinner, we all exchanged business cards. During this process, my money clip came undone, and all my money fell out of my wallet. Not knowing, I headed back to the hotel to start my big night of gambling. After finding the perfect seat at the blackjack table for my impending heater, I realized my money clip was empty, and I've lost all my money without the thrill of actually losing it. I retraced my steps from the hotel to the restaurant many times before I gave up. I hope someone who needed it found the money. I tell myself, trying to find a silver lining. Since I've already pulled out my daily limit from the ATM, I have no choice but to call it a night. I went to my room, ordered pay-per-view and some room service. I like to sleep in my underwear, and just my underwear, so I strip down, get in bed, eat my room service, and watch my movie. Then my night goes from bad to worse. Movie ends, I decided it would be best to clean up my room before bed, so I take my room service tray out into the hall and set it down. As I'm setting down the tray, the door closes and locks behind me. Crap. I frantically shake the handle, just praying the door by some miracle will open. Nope, no miracles. Then I knock on a few of the doors of my neighbors, hoping I can use their phone to call the front desk. Again, I'm in just my tighty-whities. Weirdly, no one answered or came to the door. Fear sets in. Realization happens. I'm going to have to go to the front desk and get another key. I started walking and jogging to the elevator. I pass a man who just looks at me and doesn't even acknowledge I'm jogging in just my underwear. Bless you, I think. I get in the elevator. As the elevator starts going down, I realize that I'm going to have to walk through the entire casino to get to the front desk. My luck continues. Elevator opens to a group of 20 to 25 middle-aged women on a bachelorette party. This is quite possibly the worst thing that could have happened to me. Not only are all these women hooting and hollering at me in my underwear, everyone in the casino is now curious as to what is causing the commotion. I make my way through them, feeling the warm eyes of everyone in the casino as I walk, looking very much like Walter White in season 1, in my underwear walking through the casino. One of the security guards has noticed all of this and decided that I'm just some punk young adult trying to create a scene. He comes up behind me and immediately puts me in handcuffs. I don't even get one word out of my mouth beforehand. Can this get worse? Yes, it can. Police show up. The cops are now talking with a security guard about what happened. All the while, I'm just sitting there in my underwear, handcuffed in the middle of the casino floor. I still haven't even gotten to tell anyone that I'm simply locked out of my room and extremely embarrassed. Finally, the cops start asking me, "What the heck were you thinking?" I proceeded to tell them everything that just happened, and that I'm actually staying at the hotel. Once they realized this was a simple mistake, and not me just being a butthole running around in my underwear, they uncuffed me. The security guard then called the front desk and confirmed my information, and told me to go wait by my room, and they would send someone with the key. I went back to my room and was sitting, in my underwear, by the door when a girl from the hotel walked up and said, "Yep, you're clearly who I'm here to help." Yes, I am. It was sort of like the dream where you wake up in class in nothing but your underwear, except it was a casino, and it was all too real. This happened around 2 years ago. I had some trouble with wasps building a nest in the loft of my house. Never having dealt with one before, my father very kindly came over, covered himself and sprayed the nest with pesticide. He also gave me the sage advice of waiting a week and respraying it if the nest wasn't fully dead. After a week later, I returned home from a pub around 1:30 in the morning. I declared to my flatmate that now was a perfect time to check the nest. He said it was a terrible idea. But I pointed out that if there were any still alive and I got stung, I'd be resistant to the pain from the alcohol in my system. Flawless logic, right? However, I wasn't a total idiot. I needed protection. I grabbed some gloves and swathed a towel around my head like some kind of bathroom ninja. I then ascended the metal ladder with a flashlight. All was peaceful, no sign of any living wasp. But how to be sure? I picked up a piece of wood and gave the obvious dead wasp nest a hefty whack. It was then that the swarm arose from their slumber. I was a little distressed as the wasps attempted to attack me through the bathroom ninja armor. They failed at first. I dipped a toe in and all was going wrong, but half of the nest had been destroyed, so I went in for another whack. It was then that I received the first sting. One of the little blighters had crawled into my sleeve, and another one circumvented my face towel, and now I was being stung on both the arm and face. I was in a pickle. I couldn't remove any clothing due to the rest of the swarm relentlessly attacking. I did the only thing I could think of. I started punching myself in the face and slapping my arm to try to kill the wasp that out-ninja'd me. By this time my cheek and arms were burning with pain, and only a small part of the nest remained. Gave the nest a final whack before descending the ladder in haste, and locked the loft entrance behind me. I went to the living room, unwrapped myself, and started laughing hysterically at my own idiocy. I then asked my flatmate to bring me something cold to relieve the pain. Moments later he returned with a sandwich from the fridge. Couldn't believe it, although I then started to laugh even harder at the strangeness of the situation. He then returned with some frozen vegetables and I licked my wounds. The wasp definitely won that round. So, the backstory. My husband and I have been trying to get into outdoorsy hobbies and have found a love for boating and rebuilding and repurposing old motors. We're trying to be financially responsible, and we found that inflatable boats are cheap, but also usually sturdier than you think. Also, some of the handyman knowledge and spare parts, you can build a motor out of almost anything or fix what you've already got. So we've been trying to perfect a weed eater trolling motor. After a few semi-successful trials on a lake near us, we thought it was about time to try it on something more strenuous to test it out. We decided to take a trip on somewhere near and dear to us, an isolated island with no inhabitants that makes a spectacular place to camp. It is a pretty common kayaking destination, so it's not like we're venturing into uncharted territories. Plus, we have been there a few times before. But this little weed eater motor, it didn't cause the frack up. Instead, we realized that we'd be fighting against the incoming ocean tide, and it just wouldn't have the power to move us. We decided it would be a perfect chance to check out our new, to us, electric trolling motor. My grandfather is a little bit of a hoarder, and when we last visited him, he heard about our new hobbies, and he pulled out a 40-ish-year-old trolling motor, Minicoda, I think. I'll have to confirm this with the husband, who is the mastermind handyman who rebuilt it. It should work way better than the silly weed eater conversion, since it was made for water, right? So begins frack up number 1, and our unfounded sense of confidence. So, we bought a deep cycle marine battery for it yesterday, and got the unit working after some minor rewiring. So our second frack up was from not checking the charge on the store-bought battery. Since it was new, funny thing with batteries is that most stores that carry them aren't going to go through the effort of keeping them charged. I should know. I worked at a hardware store for a bit, and I can't tell you how many mostly dead lawnmower batteries I was told to sell to people. We would maybe check them once or twice a year, if even that, so I should have known better. Third frack up. We looked up the weather for the area near the island destination. Honestly, not terrible, but not great either. Certainly not ideal. A little bit of wind and the possibility of late evening storms, mostly normal tides, but with the warning in local news that a small craft advisory might be given in the evening. Frack it, we figured. We've kayaked in worse weather against worse tides and wind. Since we've got a motor and a sturdier inflatable boat, this will be a piece of cake. Oh, and I forgot to mention, along for the ride with my husband and I is a longtime mutual friend who we will call R. You see, R has a debilitating fear of boats, water, and swimming, but this is the year he wants to tackle his fears. We figured we could help. Our motors only go like a few miles an hour at tops, and we've taken him on the lake a few times before. Time to up the ante a little and show him something more challenging. Where am I? Alright, probably frack up 4. So, I planned a route on what a normal kayaking route to this island is. It's only 3 miles, and there are small channels to go through, but it's a small boat. we'll be fine. As long as you forget the fact that there are several oyster beds in the area. Frack up number 5 and 6. If you count draining my phone battery using Google Maps to plot the course. And 7, when we left our wallets in the car. Because why would we need those? Won't be buying anything on an uninhabited island. Last frack up, number 8. We brought some, plant material with us. You know, to enjoy our time shell hunting and exploring the island. Being one with nature, that kind of stuff. One of the accessories I literally bought less than 24 hours ago, was on its maiden voyage. So, a recap. What better way to test a rebuilt 40-year-old motor than to slap it into an inflatable dinghy, put it under stress of rising tide, wind, small craft advisory, and an area of oyster shell beds? And won't it be fun for R and his sphere of water too? We did good at first. The motor worked the way it's supposed to, and supplemented paddling for us just fine. But unfortunately, because of our oversight, and let's face it, stupidity, it did not continue to go fine. We got within a mile of our destination when the battery ran out for the motor. Frack! Well, at least we have paddles, right? Except with 3 people in a boat and nature working against us, we couldn't make any forward headway. Okay, so turn around, right? We might be almost there, but 2 out of 3 of us have work in the morning, and it wouldn't be worth getting stranded on our island and having to wait till morning for a boat. Plus, our island is a couple of hour drive away from our home and work, so we're already looking at getting home early AM. Turning around turned out not to work either. Apparently in inlets with heavy water flow, it doesn't matter what direction you go. With a small craft, it's going to get stuck either way. After getting spun around in circles for about 5 minutes, we realized we're a little fracked. But hey, there's a tiny little island to the left, and what looks like a beach. Let's land the boat a few minutes and make a game plan. Maybe with some time to sit, the marine battery would have time to cool down and have some charge. Yes, I'm aware it doesn't work that way, but I'm trying to be optimistic, you know? So we pull the boat to land, and the second we touch land, we hear it. The last sound you ever want to hear with an inflatable anything. The telltale hissing sound of emptiness and despair. The beach was made of oysters and ripped a hole through the bottom of the boat. Frack. But you know, it's cool. We're on land, we're not hurt or drowning, and we still have some awesome plant material. We can make the best of this. We sit and chill for a few minutes, rough weather looming in the distance. Our boat is fracked. Our motor is dead. Our friend R is teetering on the verge of panic attack for like 20 minutes now, but is finally calming down and relaxing now, and we're on solid ground. I figured it was time to call for some help. So I hit up a local buddy of ours with a boat to explain our predicament, to see if he could give our dumb butts a lift. No hurry or anything, plus we'd paid for gas. Except when he asked where we were, I go to pull up the handy dandy Google Maps to explain the creeks and inlets we're near, and realize I have 1% battery left. Frack this crap. Buddy wouldn't be able to get to our location before the phone died, and I was fracking done with this entire adventure. I called 911, praying that my 1% would last long enough to let someone know where we were stranded. Luck finally won out. I guess since I was on the line with emergency services, my 1% lasted from initiating the call to when the Coast Guard arrived. The lady who helped us was super nice, and I'm sure just glad that we weren't one of the more awful calls that comes with the job. She was a little excited too. Apparently, we were her first boat rescue call of the warm weather season. Must have been pleasant that we were all in good health and safe, and just stranded. We had to chuck everything pertaining to our plant material, brand new accessories included, because that could have been more stuff we'd have to deal with. Frack it. We've tested our luck more than enough this year. Plus, I figured it counts as a healthy sacrifice to the water gods, am I right? When the Coast Guard arrived, we had to slash our boats into pieces to deflate it enough to fit, and we all felt near the end of the world level of embarrassment. But the guys seemed happy just to get out and use their boat, and not have to deal with the actual medical emergency. They said we spiced up their night, so that's something. R freaks out for about a half a second when the rescue boat hits higher speeds, until he realizes how fun it is to be in a boat that actually has some speed and control to it. Our last frack up bites us in the butt as soon as we are dropped off at the marina, which happens to inconveniently be 15 miles away from the launch site, 15 miles away from the car, and 15 miles away from our wallet and chargers. Maybe the universe decided we suffered enough for our blind optimism and stupidity. pity, mostly stupidity. But the bar at the marina was still open for 5 more minutes. The 3 of us walked in, waterlogged, tired and desperate. I swallowed my pride, related our frack up to the bartender, and asked simply for a charger. With any luck, Uber still had my payment information saved from the last time. It did. I just needed my phone not to be dead. The bartender and his bosses took pity on us, and I'm sure laughed at our misfortune, gave us each a drink and let us sit down long enough to charge my phone and get an Uber back to our car. Good things out of this? Ours not afraid of boats anymore. Proper boats. And he had a lot of fun on the back of the Coast Guard's little speedboat. I gave a 911 operator a story to tell, and we each got a pity drink for livening up the bartender's otherwise slow night. And now we have a story to tell for our future kids. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, I went to the supermarket with my mom and my little sister after school. My sister needed to use the toilet, so my mom and I were waiting outside the woman's bathroom for her. I had the great idea of standing next to the door and jumping out to scare her when she comes out. Well, the door opened and I jumped sideways with my arms flailing and screaming, "Rawr!" Next thing I know, there's a big commotion and a group of people surrounding the unsuspecting victim of my attack laying on the floor. Turns out my sister was still in the toilet, and I just scared the life out of a little old lady. Somehow her walking stick ended up sliding 20 feet down the hall. Thankfully the lady turned out to be okay, but my mom was pretty ticked off and sent me to sit down and wait for her and my sister. I go outside and find a place to wait, and I find this cozy little spot on a ledge between a shop window and some scaffolding on the outside of a building under construction. I don't know how or why the frack I got between the window and scaffolding, but I ended up getting my shoulders stuck. After 20 minutes of multiple failed attempts, several strangers in the fire brigade had to come and rescue me. They lifted me up and over the scaffolding using a miniature crane thing with a harness. I just remember slowly coming over the top of the pole and looking down at a crowd of 20 or so smirking faces, including that of the frightened old lady and her husband. Hi, Dallas here. Thank you for listening to these stories. I hope you enjoyed them, and if you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos in the future. And I will see you again next time.